This is how we're going to start.
It doesn't look like your typical school classroom, but it serves the same purpose. Every Wednesday, Leeds Gate Community Centre, based in Leeds, hosts a study group for traveller children in the area. They're aged between 10 to 14 years old, and none of them attend school.
I stopped at year 9 because in there wasn't like a lot of travellers, and like I was getting asked every day if I was a traveller or not.
How does that make you feel?
I don't know, it made me feel different.
I left at about 11, I think it was, and I left because I didn't want to go anymore.
Why didn't you want to go anymore?
People's different to you because you're Gypsy and Traveller.
I left because I never really felt included in everything that I did.
The families of the young people I've been speaking to have chosen to home educate them. Now, whilst we don't know the numbers of those who are being taught at home, we do know that of the Irish traveller children enrolled in school, the majority aren't attending. Over the past 5 years, Irish traveller children have had the second highest persistent absence rate in Yorkshire, the highest being Gypsy Roma. The numbers have been rising steadily each academic year, with a slight dip last year. But even then, in the autumn term of the last academic year, over 50% of traveller children were absent from secondary schools across Yorkshire and the Humber, compared to 21% of children from all ethnic groups.
It's not that hard, see?
Grace leads these study sessions. She's also of traveller heritage and the only person in her family with a degree. She understands why families in her community opt out of school.
Some parents take the kids out because of cultural beliefs, some take them out because obviously if the child's in school and the child's getting bullied, for them the kind of thing to do is to take their child out of school and home educate them. I see children come through my door on a regular basis, a daily basis, not a regular basis, and they struggle with social skills, life skills, absolutely everything, because they don't go into secondary school, so they are quite isolated because they haven't had the experiences that children from outside of our community has had.
The young people are taught basic maths and literacy in these lessons. In the afternoons, they have the opportunity to learn other life skills they may need in the future.
When you're at Leeds Gate, you have a one-on-one teacher, like Andrew will come round and talk to you, but when you're at such a school, she has to help, or he or she has to help the full classroom and then help you. But now that I'm at Leeds Gate, I feel a lot better about that because, if I'm struggling with something, Angela will help me straight away.
It's better than sitting at home, and I like it more than school because, more people as travellers, I feel more included than everyone else.
Despite the work Leeds Gate do to engage and support traveller families in educating their children, they feel schools need to do more.
I think that the work that's been done has been led by organisations like Gate and other charities that aren't actually in the education system, and fundamentally I think the change needs to come from within the education system. So some examples might be employing Gypsies and Travellers as staff within the school, or celebrating Gypsy Roma Traveller History Month every year, and stuff like that really lets communities know that they are included.
Whilst they wait for that to happen, Leeds Gate continue to support traveller families in building a future for their children. What does your future look like for you?
In a good few years' time, I'd like to move away and I'd like to start my own life, and I'd like to be a dressmaker.
Going to be taking over my dad's business and making money from there.
Everybody wants the child to have an education, and just because some of our children don't attend school does not mean they're not getting an education.
A spokesperson from the Department for Education said that tackling the national epidemic for school absence is a top priority for this government. They say absence rates for Irish traveller children have started to gradually reduce, but we recognise there is more work to be done and that we're committed to tackling the root causes of absence. I'm joined now by Pauline Melvin-Anderson, OBE, who is the chair of the Traveller Movement, and Daniel Kebede from the National Education Union. Pauline, let's start with you. You have been a head teacher yourself. These parents have chosen not to take their children to school. Is it not their responsibility to educate them rather than relying on charities to do it?
Yes, well, it's the duty of parents to make sure their children have an education, but not necessarily to provide it themselves. The main barrier is that often parents don't have the level of education required to teach their own children, so they rely on other people to help them, charities like mine or Leeds Gate. And there's another benefit, which is that you can bring children together as a small group rather than having them isolated at home, which isn't ideal.
Children, when they go to school, they mix with lots of different children from lots of different backgrounds. Should that not be encouraged?
Yes, it should, and I absolutely believe in that. The problem that we have is that they're not mixing particularly well together. There is a lot of racism in schools. It is really troublesome in some schools, and those are the schools where children from the traveller community don't feel safe.
Daniel, let's bring you in here. The government says more work needs to be done. What would you like to see teachers and schools do on reflection from what Pauline's just said there?
So Pauline's absolutely right. Schools are like a microcosm of the wider society that they operate in. You know, there is a real problem with anti-Gypsy racism broadly, and this does manifest in education as well. So, you know, Gypsy, Roma and Traveller children are far less likely to go to university, far more likely to be excluded from school. Really, the questions are for government. We need to see much more investment. We need to see a curriculum that is much more balanced, where all communities see themselves reflected, and we need to see the services that Gypsy, Roma and Traveller communities and others used to have access to in local authorities reinstated and reinvested in.
Very briefly for you, Pauline, as the head teacher, what would you say to the families that are watching from the Traveller community about why their children should be in school?
Children have a right, I believe it's the right to a good education, and when Traveller children are in school and that school is inclusive, they can thrive. They deserve the chance, and it's important to be part of wider society as well as to protect the culture and the old traditions as well.
Pauline, Daniel, thank you both for your